You're listening to the Pittsburgh Piledriver. What the hell is that? Podcast.
Okay, well, I believe it's that day. I believe it's that time. Oh no, what's this out the window? What is this? Looks like a jet. Looks like the jet. It's a jet in the shape of a bass guitar. It's got an owl swooping down from the moon. Oh, that's Geddy's jet. Floor it. We gotta get the hell out of here. It's time for the Pittsburgh Piledriver Podcast. We are here to talk wrestling in your ear. I am the Rhymesmith, and I will flame bliff. Shut up. It's not, don't worry about it. You don't need to know. Beef the Legend is here. Tiger Bomb Tom is here. Poot the Bard, as per usual, punctual as always, not here just yet. He will be. When? Who the hell knows? But I'm sure he'll bust in and interrupt every single conversation like a house of fire. And your Cruiserweight champion for the current month, not looking good come the end of the month. I'm confident of that. Ransom the Madman. We're all here, kind of. The ones that matter are here. Let's just put it that way. Shh, don't tell him. He won't hear it. Don't tell him. He doesn't listen.
Hurtful.
And if he does, go fuck yourself. Get a watch, and then you won't have to be berated by me, the resident asshole. Let's talk some wrestling. I think we have wrestling talk to talk about. I think we have wrestling things to do. And if anyone was here, I would wrestle you. Probably wouldn't go well.
Aye.
But yeah, so let's do some wrestle talk.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Hey, handsome, yes.
Yes,
Hey,
ransom.
did you guys hear that Sonny got arrested?
No. Yes, have some.
No, don't have any of that.
You caught me off guard at the beginning. That's Geddy's jet. We gotta get out of here. Sorry about the laugh there.
Hey, laughter's always the best medicine. That's Geddy's jet. Floor it. We gotta get the hell out of here.
Florida, we gotta get the hell out of here. Yeah, man. Tammy done fucked up again. I think I read terroristic threats and like
weapons charges
of a weapon. Yeah.
Non-firearm related.
Wait. Okay. So let's get the full story here. What?
Sunny days are here again.
No, they haven't been for a long time. There's not enough penicillin to bring Sunny Days back.
Oh.
She got arrested on 3 counts, I believe.
Yeah.
Terroristic threats. And I think 2 weapons charges.
Yeah. Okay.
Sounds
yeah.
right.
I pulled up the article.
I
pulled it
article
up from
that
what you sent. Yeah.
Okay. The article I read, I believe it said it was non-firearms related. It didn't specify exactly who she threatened terroristically, nor did it say what kind of weapons she was in possession of. But knowing poor Tammy Sitch, it probably wasn't good either way. The woman's life has fallen apart. She can't get her shit together. And I think it said if she was convicted on everything, she could face up to 11 years in prison.
That is correct. Yeah.
Yikes.
2 third-degree weapons charges, 1 fourth-degree charge of making terroristic threats, and yes, she could face the possibility of up to 11 years. She's been in and out of prison since serving 8 months on DUI charges back in 2018, spending a total of nearly 3 years behind bars since then. Hey, good job. She was, she survived not only prison, but, the COVID shutdown. So good on her.
Yeah,
I feel like it goes back longer than that, right? Like, she's been in the trouble with the law for, it feels like a decade.
I think she's been in trouble with the law, but I just don't think that she had prison time.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
Well, how long?
Like, I'm sure she had multiple DUIs because I think the last time she went to prison, it was because she was driving with a suspended license or a revoked license or something.
Yeah.
So she has had many, many run-ins with the law.
How long?
I just don't think a lot of them equated to prison time.
How long was she enjoying the fruits of her loins labor from her resurgence back into relevancy whenever she started doing adult films there? That I don't even remember how long.
I gotta tell you,
I don't know.
what
how
I heard
long ago
about-
that
I
was.
mean, that's been that's been damn near 20 years, I think.
No, it
It's-
hasn't been
it's
that
been a
long.
while.
It hasn't been quite that long because I remember my buddy Eli mentioning something about it to me, saying like, oh, like, well, she has a video now. I'm like, did you watch it? And he said,
No, please don't. Please tell me no.
I don't know if he did.
Oh,
I don't
no.
know if he did or not. I don't remember. I don't remember how that conversation went, but I know that wasn't 20 years ago. So, yeah.
I wonder, like, when I hear of the downward spiral of wrestlers, be they male or female, I don't.
Or performers or valets or whatever. Like,
So yeah, I don't follow them too closely. I read an article or two about them, like, oh boy, they just not looking good.
yeah.
And then I kind of forget about them. I don't know, like, what's happening with wrestlers and then drugs or alcohol and then porn and then further into a downward spiral. Like, where does it equate from wrestling to bad decision, porn, bad decision further? I don't see, like, I don't know the bridge from that.
You can
One
draw
at a
a lot
time.
of you can draw a lot of comparisons between wrestlers and like rock star, like the rock star lifestyle.
Yeah.
Those lead to porn?
Some.
Well, some.
It's-
Tommy Lee.
Yeah.
Like that's you do what you gotta do to stay relevant. Honestly, it's because they're very similar in that they tour a lot of their life, a lot of their adult lives, or a lot of their relevancy anyway. And they're bad with money. A lot of them are.
Yep.
They get bad advice from a lot of friends, quote unquote friends. And in order to cope with being away from those that they love for so long, they turn to drugs and alcohol and
Yep.
other bad decisions.
Yep.
And
Well, and there's also I mean, not that Sonny would have been much more in this vein, but obviously, like, a lot of the wrestlers that had a lot of drug and pill problems and stuff back in the day that were abusing the pain pills and everything like that, they started doing it because they were wrestling and putting their bodies through hell, and they just did it just to numb the pain, and then that just became an addiction. So you had guys like well, and then also couple on it, some guys like Jake the Snake, he had a fucked up childhood. So some of it is.
Well, I mean, I get what you're saying, but my question isn't. Everybody knows that drugs and alcohol run rampant in the world of wrestling.
Right.
Like, that's not a surprise there. My question was the correlation between wrestling, whatever in between. We know wrestlers, wrestling. There's lots of drugs and alcohol, whatever you're doing, if you're involved in wrestling. But it's the leading to the porn.
Oh,
that I don't understand. The bridge.
I got the easy one on that one. It's because look at what she was whenever she was involved in the WWF back in the day. She basically was just a sex symbol. That's what she was. Yep. That's what she knew.
That wasn't China though.
No,
and that path still led to porn.
Well, again, it's like B said, it's a way that people could stay relevant. And honestly, I mean, the fact is like China wasn't necessarily portrayed as like a sex symbol as like every other female that was. Oh, that's the thing.
Well, that's the point, though.
No.
You're saying that Sunny was
Sunny,
the sex symbol, which led to the porn. China was not that.
I know, but here's the thing.
She still got led to porn.
I know, but here's the thing.
Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, what I was going to say is maybe in China's case, maybe she kind of wanted that attention because she was never viewed that way, because she wasn't the typical, blonde hair, big breasted, bimbo valet that you saw, like Sunny or anybody else, or like Marlena or whatever, back then in that time. So maybe that was a way for China to show that different side of herself and, gain a little bit of attention that she might not have otherwise had before.
And also, as far as China goes, she had a lot of work done, to make herself look a lot more feminine towards the end of her,
Yeah.
relevancy. But here's the thing, man. Again, drugs, alcohol, that's not a wrestler problem. That's a rich person problem. Like people that have way too much money, like celebrities. And again, I'm painting with a very heavy brush here, broad strokes. But I mean, a lot of celebrities, athletes, football players, basketball players get in trouble with this kind of stuff because they have a lot of money and people around them that give in to their bad decisions. So I mean, it's par for the course. And same with doing porn. Like that's just that's how you stay relevant. Um, when a reality person, or quote unquote reality, I guess.
And
But these people, even these like Instagram models or whatever, like whenever their relevancy fades, they turn to OnlyFans because that's an easy bridge from A to B.
there's always a market for it.
Yep, people are always going to want to see other people naked. So
Yeah. This is true.
you stay relevant, you stay paid. And Sunny, unfortunately, I think kind of missed the boat on that because she didn't do like it's whenever she was a little more haggard than what she was during her Federation days.
Definitely not during her prime time.
No, my
Not at all.
goodness, no. Very much drug like affected, obviously.
And this is not to by the way, at least from my assessment of it, this is not to snub my nose up at anybody that's involved in the industry, because honestly, if that's what you enjoy doing and you can get paid doing it, then fucking do you, boo boo. To each their own. And
Enjoy what you do. You'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah, and honestly, and there is a market for it. There's always a market for that because I mean, people are always going to be procreating, wanting to procreate, or just wanting to fuck, and you can capitalize on that. So, but unfortunately, Sunny just kind of missed the boat on that one. Also, something can be said to what Beef had mentioned earlier, and I think this is the bigger part of it, is that when you're and it could stem back to even deeper issues depending on their upbringing and everything like that, and how fulfilled they feel personally, on their own personal level. They're just looking to fill a void. And that honestly, I know no pun intended on that one, but honestly, they are possibly missing a piece of their life or themselves, something that they don't know how to cope with, and they just turn to whatever easy way it is to gain attention or money or both or whatever it is that they feel validated. And for some people, that's what it is. You do hear a lot of that of performers that get involved in the adult industry that had gone through things like that in their upbringing or something like that. They might have been abused, whatever, this and that. Other people not. They just have a very, very, very what's the word? A satiable appetite for sex. Insatiable. Thank you, Poot. Welcome. Welcome to our TED Talk here.
Also, I was gonna walk in here and just go, washed up whore gets arrested next. But
So I think
honestly where I thought we were gonna go with this. Like I didn't think it was gonna be a topic of discussion, but I'm glad it is. It's been a really good discussion.
Yeah,
I think the saddest thing about all this is that at least the cases that I know of, and again, when I hear like wrestler drugs, porn, or wrestler alcohol, drug, whatever the pathway to porn is.
Yeah.
Like I don't follow it super close, but I haven't really heard of too many success stories. Like it just seems like, and again, I don't judge. I try not to judge too many people. Like everybody has their own feelings on things, and to each his own. Like I don't ask anybody to condone what I do. I don't give a shit what anybody else does, as long as it doesn't negatively impact me.
Right.
When you start negatively impacting me, then I'm going to start to have an outspoken opinion on it. But I just haven't seen too many successful stories end with celebrity, drugs, alcohol, porn, whatever. Like bridge
Well,
the gap to successful end. It always
to-
seems like it's a tragic end.
To be fair,
China's,
though,
hold on for a second. China's was, and in the case of Sunny, unless she has some sort of come to Jesus moment, which you can, I'm not saying you can't. It doesn't look like she's going in a good direction with the way things are going with her, like terroristic threats, weapon charges, being arrested. She could face more prison time, not just prison time, more prison time. She's been to prison already. She's had multiple run-ins with the law. It just doesn't seem like she's in a good direction of, hey, this is going to end in success. It just sounds like another one of those things where it's, hey, we're eventually going to see a story of she's OD'd, she died drunk driving, she got murdered, something.
So to be fair, though, like, and again, this is not just wrestler specific, but I mean, how often do these guys and gals who venture out with like a second career really succeed? Normally, there are three things. There are three paths. One is that, I guess four technically, but one is that they kind of just fade away into the obscurity. They stay off of the mainstream media. They retire quietly and live out the rest of their days happy. Two is that they become a backstage personality, be it, a wrestling announcer, booker, or like, in the case of football, baseball, basketball, you become like a coach or a developmental person or sportscaster. Three, you burn out, man. You leave a bright fucking, you better to burn out than fade away, man. You die fast and leave a pretty corpse, or
Ooh.
I forget what the fourth one was. But bottom line here is that, like, yes, I ultimately, when it comes to Tammy and or most of these reality stars who end up turning to porn, it is because they are in some sort of financial trouble.
Yeah.
And and again, like Tom said, no shade being thrown to those who want to be there. That's great, awesome. I'm glad you do it. It's an honest to God industry, and you're making lots of money. So kudos to you. But like realistically, like if you didn't get famous doing that, and you're now doing that, that's usually a cry for help, either emotionally or financially,
or both.
right, or both. Yeah.
When I look at these two, though, like the two specific ones, when I look at Sunny and China, I find this to be a tragedy. And not just in a personal sense, but in a professional sense, too. Because while they were different, they had different paths, they were both trailblazers in the industry.
Mhm.
Like, Sunny was a trailblazer as far as the valet went.
Yep.
China, good lord, was a trailblazer as far as a female wrestler went.
Mhm.
She was never in that unfortunate divas division.
Right.
Like, she was a female wrestler. She was a woman wrestler. She was a wrestler.
Yep.
Like, she wasn't a diva with that stupid
could
flower
go,
belt
too.
bullshit. She was a decent wrestler. She wrestled men many times.
Yep.
I think she was the first woman in a Royal Rumble. Like,
Yep.
a trailblazer. So, and not to mention, she was inducted after her passing into the Hall of Fame. Sunny is a Hall of Famer, still alive.
I don't
feel
know who
like
made that
there's-
decision. That was such a dumb decision.
Well, I mean, I can see it because she was a trailblazer.
I agree, but I mean, like, so
Well, Hall of Fame worthiness aside, I think my point is, it feels like they have a lot to give. They could have had a lot to give to the wrestling world, even if they were done being a valet or done being a wrestler. There was still something that they could have contributed, and I think it's a waste that they went down the paths that they went, that ultimately led to China's demise. That who knows what it's going to lead to for Sunny. But I feel like there's just so much more they could have given to the wrestling world if they wanted to make money or stay relevant. They could have done it in a it's going to sound judgy, but sorry. They could have done it in a more productive way.
Well,
Here's the problem, and I think it all kind of circles the drain with this. Wrestlers aren't paid well. Like they may they may live that rock star lifestyle, but they don't get paid like rock stars, man. They make very meager incomes, and especially the women. You know, there's always going to be a wage gap, especially in wrestling. You know, I mean, for any like quote unquote male business, whereas dominated by men, women are always going to earn potentially less, and that's a shitty thing, but that's a truism, at least in this country. But yeah, like they made far less than what they probably deserved, in all honesty, and that necessitates towards the end, especially if they've made bad financial decisions when their career's over, or as they get towards the twilight of their life.
Yep.
They're like, hey, I'm out of money, now what?
do you remember back whenever MTV did the True Life series?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they did one True Life. I'm a pro wrestler. There was a guy, they followed a guy that was trying to break into the business. Then they also followed, I believe it was Tony Atlas, wasn't it? That they showed him like after, long after he's done.
Yep. Yes.
He's doing some little like indie gigs here and there, and they showed, his apartment where he's living and stuff like that. Not what you expect from somebody who was this big time famous wrestler. He even said it. He was bad with his money. He made bad decisions and things like that. And it just sucks. Unfortunately, some people dig themselves into a hole that they can't get out of. But more going along what Ransom's going on with, kind of his point is the people going down these paths, these self-destructive paths. Unfortunately, some people just can't get to that point where they ask for help. Obviously Sunny's in a bad way, porn aside, just the fact that she's been arrested and, in jail for, they said over the last 3 years, she's been in jail for up to about 3 years since 2018. Well, that's pretty much almost 3 years exactly, right? As it is. So she's pretty much been in jail from like 2018 to current, and now she's going back to jail. She just may not be at a point where she is willing or able to ask for help, and that's a shame for anybody, wrestler or not. You hate to see that out of anybody that you either know personally or somebody that you looked up to at one point for one reason or another, somebody that you put up on some sort of pedestal. Of a semi-celebrity status. It sucks. It sucks to see it's
tragedy to see anybody spiral and just be consumed by their own bad decisions and poor decisions, and whatever the reason is that they're making those decisions, whether it's just moments of blatant stupidity or a cry for attention or a cry for help, like whatever it is.
Yeah,
man, like you hate to see that, and you see it happen so often.
I will say,
aside from the porn thing, one of the things I would really like to see some of these wrestling companies do, and I feel like a lot of them need this. I don't know if it'll ever get that way with WWE, because we like to talk about how they're independent contractors,
right?
But like if you look at most businesses, most businesses that have HR departments and that try to put into their employees, you have a lot of these businesses that will offer financial planning and ways that you can save and invest your money.
Right.
And I think some of these wrestling companies need that, because really, I mean, even like
correct me if
I first got into like working out of school, I was still young. I still didn't know shit. Like I needed somebody to be like, hey, you want to think long term? Here's how you do it. Here's how you plan long term. Here's how you save long term while still not living in squalor, because you're able to spend money here and there, but also save it here and there. I think a lot of these wrestlers that get into wrestling get in so young because you have to, you have to get into wrestling young, because unless you're a phenomenal talent, like a diamond in the rough, you're not going to be able to get into wrestling at like 40
Yeah,
and be a grandstanding success.
you're.
So a lot of these wrestlers come in young.
There's not many
and-
DDPs out there.
No.
Let's put it that
And when
way.
you're young, you're stupid.
Yeah.
On average, probably most of the people that are young are stupid. That's just a thing that comes with wisdom, comes with age and experience.
Yep.
So a lot of these young wrestlers are stupid, and they're like, "Oh, I'm a wrestler. I'm on TV. I do wrestling. Like, people know my face and see my face. I'm going to live like a rock star. I'm going to buy expensive cars and big houses and all this fun stuff. Look at me buying all this fun stuff." And then years later down the line, they look at themselves and go, "Uh-oh, shouldn't have been buying all this fun stuff. Should have maybe been doing a little bit of saving. Should have maybe been doing a little bit of planning. Now I'm stuck in a problem place." And I think if some of these wrestling companies had a bigger push towards saving, investing, look to the future, be successful, maybe there wouldn't be so many of these stories where you have a Jake the Snake, a Sonny, a China, name a plethora of wrestlers that wind up in their twilight years going, "Shit, didn't save anything, spent a buttload more than I should have. Now I'm in trouble and destitute."
Yeah. Well, I think the one thing though is nowadays, I think a lot of the wrestlers that are getting into the business are seeing that, and it's unfortunate that the people that came before them had to even go through this, but at least, if nothing else, there's a lesson to be learned from all that. So now you see, young talent coming into the business. I'll use Xavier Woods for an example. There was something that was touched on before. I can't remember why. I can't remember how it came up or why, but it was something about like how the locker room has changed. I think Undertaker or somebody had said something about like, oh, back in our day, we didn't have guys like sitting around playing video games in the locker room and stuff like that. And it's a different atmosphere now. I think the wrestlers that are coming up nowadays are, they've been advised and they see what's happened to some of the guys that came before them, and they also are finding new and inventive ways to have a side hustle or have some sort of backup career or whatever, like we had touched on in one of the last episodes with like Adam Cole doing his Twitch and stuff like that, and Paige with whatever she's doing online and stuff like that. That they're finding other ways. I mean, look at Xavier Woods. He's got I think he's got his PhD by now, correct? No?
I don't know.
But in any case,
I don't know if he does, but he has a decent amount of education.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is that the wrestlers that are coming through nowadays, I feel, are a little bit better set off. It still would be nice to see different companies implement, some sort of thing like having people come in. I know they've had who was it, like Chris Masters would come through and do things about like CTEs and stuff like that. They different times they'd have people come in and talk to wrestlers about the importance of X, Y, or Z.
Oh,
yeah, or lack thereof. Whoops. Or whatever.
Oopsie daisy.
Now, Beef might know more on this one than me, or even Poot. No offense, Ransom. But I feel like somebody when I feel like somebody in AEW who had been touting the praises of how great the company was, especially when they first started, had mentioned something about like behind the scenes, talking to some of the different veterans that were there behind the scenes and getting advice, much like what you're talking about, Ransom. Now, is that am I completely just like in a fever dream thinking that, or has that something that's been said before, Beef or Poot or Ransom?
I mean, I don't recall that specifically coming up, but I'll say this, that that's the veteran mindset in AEW, is that, hey, we're here to help the young guys. And yes, most of the time they're talking about like on television, getting over. How can we help this company succeed? But you also have to figure in that they're also thinking about how can I help these guys in the future. Period. Like how can I help them? So yeah, I mean, I'm sure that their veteran instincts are paying dividends for the younger talent in old AEW. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and I can't remember who it was exactly, but I know I've heard one or more wrestlers say, whenever they were getting into the business, one of the first things that was suggested was that if they were, even if it was going to a community college or something like that, just to have a backup plan. And I've heard it on more than one occasion. So I feel like that mindset is being cultivated because they know, like, I feel like we're getting a smarter wrestler nowadays in the vein of, like, as when it comes to, like, the business side of it, you're getting people that know, like, okay, I only have so long, I only have, so much of a bump card to fill. Eventually that card's going to fill up, and I can try to prolong this as long as possible by doing X, Y, and Z. But when the time comes, I've got this plan to back me up. I feel like you're seeing more of that, so I would hope that we don't find as many of these stories anymore going forward in the business. But I'm sure nothing's ever going to be 100%. So.
Honestly, until they fix the problem
Whoop.
of these guys and gals being independent contractors, and I don't know how Tony Khan does it. I don't know, because that stuff is all kind of hidden away because AEW is not a publicly traded company. They can do what they need to do.
Right.
But I don't know how they're treating their guys and their gals, and I'm sure as time goes we'll hear more about that. But until we start treating, these wrestlers like premier athletes, like football players, like basketball players, giving them contracts, and I mean, honestly, and again, broad strokes here, like there's a lot of work to do in that too, because a lot of guys from yesteryear, especially in the NFL, are creeping up with like CTE and like debilitating conditions that like the NFL is like, well, you made your money, too bad. Like at the end of the day, I think that there needs to be something in place. Unions, honestly, if we're being real, for and the NFL has come a long way with their unions, but I think wrestling needs to follow suit and allow wrestlers to unionize and have those contracts and not be independent contractors and have things worked into the back end to where they'll have care if needed, things of that nature. Until all of that is settled, I think we're gonna, because yes, for every Xavier Woods that there is out there, I think that we're going to be seeing, another person living their life too fast and gone too soon.
Yeah.
So, all right, enough of this downward spiral. Some things have happened in AEW recently, and a few of those things we should probably touch on. I think one of them definitely being the interim. Is it still called interim?
Yep.
TNT champion. Do we ever know? Did we ever find out exactly what happened with Cody, or is that still pretty hush hush?
Nope, they've never said, but they have. But they Excalibur mentioned on the broadcast last night, on Dynamite on Wednesday. Excuse me, breaking the fourth wall.
Whoops.
But Excalibur mentioned on Dynamite that Cody Rhodes is still the TNT champion, and Sammy Guevara is currently the interim TNT champion. Sammy Guevara defended. They even said it was defending the interim TNT championship.
Okay.
And basically, once Cody's ready to come back, there'll be a match to, combine the interim and the TNT champions.
All right, so let me get this straight.
Take a breath, Bully Ray. Back to Busted Open with you for a second here. Hold on. I have a beef with AEW. Why, if they are still calling Cody Rhodes the TNT champion, if Sammy Guevara is still the interim champion, why take it off of Cody Rhodes at all? Like, if he's not going to be out for a significant amount of time, what's the point of this whole interim champion thing? You're still calling Cody the TNT champion, but Sammy Guevara is the interim champion, but he can still defend the belt. So if he loses that title to anybody, they're not going to be the TNT champion. They're just going to be the new interim TNT champion. Like, I don't understand that mindset. Why are they doing that?
Yeah.
Hold on, I got it. That's a UFC thing. Because UFC often has times whenever their fighters will win a title and then all of a sudden can't compete because they're injured, because surprise, surprise, they fight for a fucking living. So yeah, like when a championship needs to be defended, if the champion can't do it, they crown an interim champion, and then down the line they have the interim champion and the actual champion go toe to toe. Bingo, bango, bongo. There's your champion. So to me, this lends credibility and legitimacy to it, that they're not just going to strip Cody Rhodes, that they're going to carry the same kind of vim and vigor that the UFC does. Now, that being said, this needs to be a precedent, I think, for all titles moving forward with AEW. If the champion's unable to defend, not unwilling, mind you, just unable, then I think that they too need to have an interim tag placed on them, and go for there. So I think the precedent is set, and I think the tail of the tape's going to be if they follow up with that.
I agree with you on that they should, if they're going to do it for one title, they should do it for all titles. That way, it just seems very messy and confusing as to why they even took it off of Sammy in the first place to put it on Cody. And then we don't know the circumstances, if it's real or if it's kayfabe, why Cody is out and for how long.
It's real.
It's real. Okay.
It's real, because I think that they had something planned, that there was a reason that they took the title off of Sammy and put it on Cody.
Okay.
I think that they had something in the works, something brewing for Battle of the Belts. Because honestly, and I didn't watch the show, so, bear with me, but honestly, Battle of the Belts kind of came off as, okay.
So we don't know the results or anything, even though you didn't watch
I do.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sammy beat Dustin Rhodes for the interim TNT title. Baker beat Riho, and
Yes.
Ricky Stark successfully defended the FTW title against Seidel. So
No surprise there.
yeah, and I mean, an okay show, but I think that most of and again, I didn't watch it, but to be fair, it sounds like a lot of the Dynamites have been, at least as of late, have been better than that particular show. So that leads me to believe that they had something big planned for Cody and Sammy,
Yeah.
even if it's just Cody's final, like the big turn, the official heel turn. I think that they had something big planned that they now have to put off because Cody's out.
I'm just kind of surprised that if they had this plan and they took it off of Sammy, they had it on Cody. I don't understand why they couldn't have just left it on. I feel it would have been better and even lend more credence to Cody having a heel turn if they left it on Dustin, had him run with it, and then Cody turns on Dustin. And because
I mean, this makes sense though. Like, I get it, because
right.
I'm not. So basically, this more or less like retroacts Cody's title win. It basically puts the title back on Sammy, so that they can keep the Cody Sammy thing going whenever Cody's ready to come back. And if they find that Cody can't come back for whatever reason, I don't know. Maybe it's concussion. Who knows? But bottom line is, like, if they find that Cody can't come back, they can just say, okay, well, now we can move forward with Sammy and do a Sammy thing. This keeps the iron between those two hot, if you will.
I get that. I'm just saying they could have also done it another way and had basically a big a blood feud again between Cody and Dustin, and I mean, we remember the match that they had. Was it at All Out, the first All Out that they had it, or was it All In? I can't remember.
It may have been the first Double or Nothing. I'm not sure.
It was.
But even going back, if you remember, they had a banger of a match at Fastlane the one year too, like just before WrestleMania. Stardust and Goldust did. So I mean, like they have matches, and I don't disagree. But like if you have a choice to put the beneficiary of a Cody heel turn on a guy who is helping out, who's a spot filler, versus one of the pillars in of your company.
Yeah, That's a good point. I get you.
There's no choice there, and I don't like the word interim better than anybody else. It makes sense here. I don't like the fact that Cody beat Sammy in the first fucking place. Like that's
right.
Let's walk that back. I think Cody beating Sammy was a dumb fucking thing to do. But again, I'm going to withhold final judgment to see where this goes. And I think that a lot of us are still sitting on that, like, withholding judgment on this whole fucking Cody thing to see where it goes, what the final, like, stop on this, like, Cody putting himself over angle is. And if there is no fucking final stop, if the answer is that Cody's just being a dick and going over to go over, then, let the fucking Triple H comparisons commence.
Right.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, everything's cocked up right now. Honestly, if it were COVID, I think Cody would have been back this week. Because people have been kicking it pretty quick anymore. And with the ever changing landscape of what the CDC says or does or says we should do or not do or this, that, and the other thing, I think it's becoming very apparent that Nick Jackson said it himself. He got it, kicked his ass in 2 days, and was back.
Well,
So
not everybody can be a fucking stud
right,
like Nick Jackson, but
yeah, and I get that, but I mean, Roman Reigns is back in a week,
right?
Things like that. A lot of NFL players are back in a week after contracting it. So, and I get that that's not the norm. And that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
I'm saying that, like, I don't think it's COVID. I think it might be something potentially more long term.
Yeah.
And I hope that's not the case, because I do like Cody. I really do. He fills a great spot. He's a good wrestler. He's great on the mic. I disagree with some of his wins and loss record, but other than that, he's a good hand to have.
Yeah.
So I think probably other big news coming out of AEW was there was a match between CM Punk and Wardlow that it feels like a lot of us were surprised at the outcome. Is that true?
I know Beef is going to have a lot to say on this. I want to hear Poot's take on it first. If you saw it or heard about it or whatever.
No, I'd rather have beef set the stage.
Beat him.
Also, I'm here too.
Yeah, I feel bad. We're like hitting the ground running here, and poor Poot hasn't had a word to say edgewise.
Well, you guys were on like really, really thoughtful like tears. Like, you know what I mean? You didn't like, and I mean, I'm the Sunny discussion. I'm a little sad that I missed, because I came in hot with that joke, but it really is like pretty much, Ransom and Tom, and no less to Beef as well. But you guys pretty much covered it, because it is sad to see AOL's most downloaded woman, or downloaded celebrity turn into what she's turned in today. Like, and I mean, and then the thing is, she's been that way. If you watch any interviews where people are asked about her, 90% of it is she has always been that I'm a bitch and I know it, and just self-destructive, poisonous kind of person, and who just has a lot of damage. But I'm not going to stay on that, because the CM Punk Wardlow thing, Beef, take us off. Get us out of the gate.
It's actually very divisive. A lot of people don't like it. I personally love it. So, for those that did not see Dynamite, what the fuck are you doing with your life, man? Like, it's a great show week in, week
Not
out.
having cable. That's what.
Yeah, I understand that, not everybody has as much fucking free time as I do with children, and
Not everybody
not having
has cable.
right? Yeah, so I get it, but I mean, honestly, like, man, like, fucking watch Dynamite, man. It's an amazing show. If you can't go out of your way to watch it, because I'm telling you, like, you won't be disappointed if you like wrestling. Watch Dynamite. Anyway,
I need Dynamite to be put on some sort of streaming service. Get it on something. Get it on freaking Paramount or Hulu or something. Give me a place that I can go and watch it after the fact, because I still will.
Yeah,
I'm shocked that Turner doesn't have its own streaming service. I know that there are ties to HBO Max.
Oh, I can't subscribe to another new one just for Dynamite, though. Ugh.
Listen.
Yeah, but you'd be getting Dynamite and Space Ghost.
I was gonna say, I'm sure
I'm not one of those wrestlers that doesn't plan for the future. I'm planning for the future here. I can't do it.
Listen,
stop with these subscription services.
Ransom.
Give me something on a subscription service that I already freaking have.
Ransom.
Damn it.
There's ways around it. Listen, do you know how many of the streaming?
I can't devote that much energy to shanking the system. I don't have the time.
You can. It's very simple. You know people who have accounts for other things. I'm telling you this.
I'll be at your door in 33 minutes. I want your username and password written down on a piece of paper. Slide it underneath the door. Everyone will look another way. Nobody from HBO listen to this podcast. I'll log in and I'll watch some Space Ghost, and until AEW Dynamite gets on freaking HBO Max Plus service, hashtag, I'll watch other things. But freaking tell me about this Wardlow match.
Yeah, man.
I'm sorry. No. Hold on.
I don't have time for one of your jokes, Tom. You're the only one that laughs at them. Tell me about Wardlow.
My. Damn, Ransom coming in hot.
I'm a heel, baby.
So,
nobody wins.
So nobody wins. CM Punk and Wardlow had a contest last night that was very divisive amongst the wrestling world, in which is building towards the Punk MJF match. Probably going to happen at Revolution if I had to guess. But basically MJF the prior week was like, you want the match, nameless faceless crowd, you dumb bastards want the match, you got it. Next week it's Punk versus Wardlow. And he pulled the same shit the same shit last night. He's like, all right, that's it, I'm serious, this is it. You Punk, you've done it now. Next week you get the match. Next week you get Sean Spears. And he's so good. He's so good.
Why was it divisive? Tell me this.
Well, the match basically had Punk's greatest hits, including the third of the turnbuckle, knee, bulldog, etc., and some decent punking. But
is it the Punk's version of the 5 moves of doom?
More or less, minus the go to sleep. But Wardlow controlled the match through a commercial break. And he power bombed Punk, I think, a total of 9 times.
Nine.
One of which being through a table on the outside.
He's old, man. You can't do that to him.
I thought they were going to go with either a DQ there or a count out loss.
Especially Punk, by the way, for taking 9.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Good Lord!
A testament to the shape that he's in, man. Because the previous week, Punk had caused MJF to have a disqualification loss. So MJF's first match of the year, MJF I think is 0-1 on the year so far because he lost by disqualification. That Punk caused. So I thought they were going to go the same route, have Punk lose via count out, and be like, "Oh, Punk's first loss is because of MJF," and heating up that feud. But they did. Basically, Wardlow powerbombed them, I think 6 or 7 times in the ring. And then they went outside. He powerbombed them on the outside through a table. And then got back in. He powerbombed them again once or twice. Wardlow went for the pin. And MJF called him off. He said, no, I want you to hurt him. Basically the idea that MJF doesn't want to face Punk down the line. So he's trying to get Wardlow to take him out of commission. So basically MJF's on the apron saying, no, Wardlow. Wardlow had the foot on, like, he wasn't in a pinning predicament. He was standing on top of Punk's chest. Punk was making no movement whatsoever. Wardlow was going to get a win, like, as clean as a fucking baby's bottom. And MJF called him off. They had a kerfuffle. Like, Wardlow's like, "What do you want? What's going on?" And MJF's like, "Hey, I pay your salary. Just do it." And then Wardlow went for the power bomb. CM Punk countered it into a small package. 1, 2, 3. Punk wins. But the ultimately people are not upset, arguing whether or not that was the right thing to do. Well, on one hand, you have one of your top stars of the company, which cannot be at this point, CM Punk, the guy who absolutely broke the ratings curve for them last year, bringing him in. Like, you have him look kind of weak. But on the other hand, you have a young guy who absolutely looks like a house on fire. He's powerbombed everybody he's faced like 9 times. Not literally 9. Sometimes it's been like
times.
It's been like 3 or 4 times every match, to the point where Spears is like, it's on the, because right now the gimmick is Sean Spears follows him around and like is like his he's the guy that reins him in. And so like Wardlow hit like 2 or 3 power bombs, and Spears gets up on the apron. He's like, "That's it. It's over. Finish him. Just pin him." And so that's been a thing. But like, so you have Wardlow who's looking fucking dominant. I honestly, I was fine with it, and to be real honest with you, I would have been fine if Wardlow would have beat Punk like that. I know that Punk's first loss in AEW is a thing of big, is the subject of a lot of scrutiny.
It's a hell of a rub.
Yeah, same with Bryan Danielson. His first loss to Hangman was a hell of a rub, because he went out and he stretched everybody he worked with. He put on clinics with every match, and he wrestled basically every Dynamite and Rampage for like 2 or 3 months. But like, yeah, it's a big fucking deal that Hangman beat Page, or that Hangman beat. Yeah, that's right.
He beat himself.
Danielson.
He beat himself hard.
He could have beaten Ethan Page. That Hangman beat Danielson clean, 1, 2, 3. And so it will be a big deal when Punk loses, which should be MJF. But all that being said, obviously the community is divided whether or not it's a good thing to have one of your biggest stars right now look like that, or whether it's a good thing to push a young guy. What do you guys think?
Well, I think it's
oh boy.
I would just say it's real quick. I think it's the right call. Punk goes over, but Wardlow got over. If that makes sense, you can still get over without going over. You made Wardlow look like a beast. Punk still got the win. He got the haha 1-up on MJF, and it keeps the rivalry going.
So, just clarify, Beef, real fast.
No.
The outrage. What? What was that?
He just said
no.
That's
Like, no.
Go on.
Do it anyway. The outrage is over Wardlow manhandling Punk, or is the outrage over Wardlow not beating Punk? Where's the outrage lie?
I wouldn't call it outrage. I think it's just divided the wrestling community. And it's because
this was good, or yeah.
It's because Wardlow dominated him.
Okay. So I think that's a good thing, though, because I probably have an unpopular opinion. Shocker. And again, I don't care. Shocker. But while Punk looks great, he's no spring chicken. These young guys, I feel like you really want to cultivate the young up-and-coming talent that is going to carry you, presumably, for a very long amount of time. And I think Wardlow's one of those guys. So I think having Wardlow look so dominant is a good thing, especially against somebody so popular as CM Punk. Because I don't know. When I look at Punk, I don't look at him and go, this is the guy that's going to carry AEW into the future. I look at him and go, this is a guy that's going to get a lot of eyes on AEW. He's going to make AEW a lot of money, but ultimately the win for AEW is going to be the guys that go up against Punk and come out of that looking like $1 million. Like, that's where I think the real win is going to be. So I'm completely happy with Wardlow looking so good against somebody so popular as CM Punk. I have no problem with Punk getting the win. I'd be equally as happy if Wardlow got the win too, like Beef said. But making Wardlow look dominant and powerful, I think, is a very smart play, especially against somebody with the popularity of CM Punk.
Yep, and you could draw the comparison of Punk to even Jericho. Jericho was the first AEW heavyweight champion because he got eyes on the product, because he already had established notoriety and everything like that. He was, and well known and everything like that. He was the name that got eyes on the product, and then Moxley and Omega and other people were the names keeping the eyes on the product.
Yes. Pooh, what do you think?
I think that this was a really good way to retain Punk's first loss rub and make a young guy who really deserves it not only look great, look powerful, look strong, but on top of that, make him look forward the story they have going, where eventually he'll turn on MJF.
Right.
I think this was really good. I think that Punk should give that loss to MJF. Or give the rub to MJF, because MJF is just like, for how young he is and how short of a time he's been in the business, he feels like he's been doing it for like 30 years. And I think it'll be great not only once Punk gives that loss to MJF. I think that'll push MJF to the point where he doesn't need his rogues gallery behind him, and that'll open up Sean Spears to work with other people and help him grow. Because he said, I think a year and a half ago, in an interview with Chris Van Vliet, that he's like, yeah, I've got about maybe 4 or 5 years left in me, and then I just want to work my wrestling school and kind of be home and relax and teach the next generation and everything. So like, he'll be able to kind of cool off a little bit, do more matches when he would want. But then it would also open up Wardlow. You could, it would knock Wardlow off the mountain, but once you build him back up, he is just perfect. He's perfect to be a monster heel. He's perfect to be that monster baby face. He has tons of charisma. He has the look, he has the talent, and he has the ability. So like, the cool thing about this is that if everything falls into place as it should, I think things are going to be perfect for everyone coming out of this, including Punk. You know what I mean? Because then Punk can go forward and work with other people and kind of put MJF behind, but you always have it in your back pocket to have Punk come back and just be a thorn in MJF's side. You know what I mean? So like, I don't think there's necessarily a bad angle out of this. It would take a talent of Vince McMahon proportions.
Oh no.
To fuck this up. You know what I mean? I don't see a downside to any of this. And I don't see a downside to how they handled Punk versus Wardlow, because it was like Punk got one over on Wardlow, but if the match would have kept going and if he wouldn't have gotten the sneaky roll-up pin, then you know what? Wardlow probably would have beat him. And that's kind of the thing that you can go is like, oh, Wardlow had that match. It's just Punk was clever. He's the wily veteran, as they like to say.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a bad way out of this. I really don't. They're just doing a good job with everyone involved in all this.
All right.
I
So
disagree.
let me hear this.
I think there's a bad way out of it, and that's with CM Punk losing. I know that it's CM Punk losing against MJF that is down the line. I know that prevailing opinion is you always have your faces go over at big times. Like, that's, it's why we watch wrestling, so that we can see the good guys ultimately get the final hi-ya. But
Suck it, Greg.
at the end of the day, I think that you need some of the bad guys to get that final leg up, and I think that MJF is a perfect case of that. I think if let's get to Revolution and it's CM Punk versus MJF, and MJF does not beat CM Punk, I think that's a problem.
All right, so before this podcast turns into a vampire, I do have two questions that I want to get everybody's answer to. And it has to do with this Wardlow, Punk, MJF thing. So the questions are this: do you think that MJF is going to deliver the first loss to Punk? Part two of the question is, whenever MJF's stable does destabilize, is it going to be Wardlow? Is he going to be the one to turn? Is he going to be the one to turn on MJF? He turns face, he breaks away, whether it's an entire stable collapse or it's just him leaving. Do you think he's going to be the one out of that stable to turn on MJF? Poot.
What, Wardlow? Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
Well, an answer to both of those questions will be good.
I'm sorry. What was the other question? I'm sorry.
Damn it, man. Poot.
I got all hot and bothered about the fact that Wardlow was just gonna turn on. I'm waiting for it. I want it.
That's why we can't have nice things. So the questions were
start and stop at your convenience, you miserable piece of shit.
Wow. The questions were: do you think MJF is going to deliver Punk's first loss?
Oh,
and whenever the stable destabilizes, is it going to be Wardlow that turns on MJF and goes face or breaks away or whatever?
I think Wardlow is going to be the one to turn on MJF, and I honestly think that Punk that if they don't have MJF lose to Punk, I think that will be the biggest mistake that AEW has made. I honestly believe that, because it would just push him further. I just think that it should. Also, Beef, suck all 2.5 inches of my dick. All right.
Tom, what do you think?
Yes, and yes.
Excellent. Beef, what do you think?
Yes, MJF beats Punk because that's what they need to do. And FTR already has their 1 foot out of the pinnacle. They've been working with Andrade, doing kind of a stable thing with him. Like there was a thing where he was been paying MJF to let them work for him, with him, whatever. So and Penta getting hurt kind of fouled everything up. I think as far as, or not Penta, Phoenix getting hurt kind of fouled everything up with that. So FDR's kind of got 1 foot out the door anyway. So yeah, I think that ultimately, when Wardlow turns on MJF, that'll be the crumbling of the pinnacle.
So you think that not FTR leaving, but the crumbling of the pinnacle? Do you think that's going to stem from Wardlow turning on MJF?
Yes, I do.
Oh boy, man! There's so
reason.
many good things that can happen.
There are, and they're doing the exact right thing with Wardlow right now. They are doing exactly what they need to do with him. Wardlow is not a young man though, so I wouldn't hate it if they sped things up a little bit, because this is kind of how it's been going for the last year and a half. Because I do want to see Wardlow get an honest to God shot at being one of the guys in AEW. But yeah, man, I'm here for it.
Nice. Well, has this episode turned into a vampire, or do we have more to cover here and now today? Presently?
No, I think we can wrap, and yeah, we got some stuff to talk about on the next episode of the Pittsburgh Piledriver podcast, including a Stump the Chumps from our friend. We'll also be covering some current Cruiserweight title standings for the month of January, and I think we can get into some Royal Rumble talk, and
yes.
'tis the season for surprises, and the worst kept secrets in the world. So
Yes,
check that out whenever that comes out. But yeah, I think if Poot, you want to wrap us up on this? We'll bid our dues.
We're going to have a quesadilla. We're not going to have a burrito, so we're going to make this quick. Make sure you follow Casual Gaming Dad on Facebook, Casual Gaming Dad, and buy a lot of his merch from Gould Gaming. That's gouldgaming.com, and search on Casual Gaming Dad. Dad plays a lot of fun games throughout the week. He streams them live for your entertainment, including Tuesdays where we play Among Us and suss the fuck out of each other. Also, we want to thank Sean Tischler and his work with wrestlers and wrestling in the central and western Pennsylvania area. Congratulations, Sean. Also, looking forward to getting out to more indie shows because I keep seeing pictures on Facebook and it makes me go, we need to go see a show. And I want to make sure to thank, of course, our hilarious and very, very talented madman, Mr. Ransom, and his YouTube channel, Frig Off Ransom. I want to thank him as well. For Beef the Legend, Tiger Bomb Tom, myself, Pooh the Bard, and your reigning, defending, undisputed, choo-choo-chooserweight champion, Mr. Alec Ransom. We'll see you on the next episode.
You make these walls bleed right now.